started?
Yeah, thank you guys so much for attending today's call to learn all about river cruising in Egypt and down the Nile River. So it looks like it's going to be an amazing presentation. We have Brandon Oscarson from AmaWaterways, so thank you so much for being here, and Sherry Griffiths from Cruise Tips TV. I'm Heather Sullivan, a vacation specialist with Dream Vacations, and I'm your host for this evening. And Sherry, who's on the call with us, is from Cruise Tips TV, and she has reinvented herself to be this amazing influencer, named in 2018 and 2019 by Porthole Cruise Magazine, as one of the top 10 producers, or influencers, I should say. Sorry, Sherry. Her YouTube channel and her Cruise Tips TV has over 15 million views. So she's on the call along with a lot of her regular viewers. So thank you so much, Sherry, for being here.
Thank you very much, Heather, for the introduction. I appreciate it. And thank you, Brandon, for hosting. I think many of us right now are in dream mode, right? Like we're not traveling, but we're definitely dreaming. I just want to thank all the familiar faces that have popped in. I see Josine and Joanne and Kathy and Dawnette and a few other people. I think some people are kind of drifting in and out, but thank you. I see you, and I appreciate you all so much coming. Do feel free to connect your camera, wave and say hello if you'd like to. So to give you a little background on how we came to this, Heather actually works for Dream Vacations, as she mentioned, and many of you know that Cruise Tips TV has a partnership with the Dream Vacations franchise that Heather works for. So Heather actually has been serving and taking care of many of our Cruise Tips TV clients and booking cruises and travel for them for the last year. So we have a relationship built on trust, and our community absolutely adores her and trusts her with their vacations. And so when she had this idea to introduce AmaWaterways to our community, we thought it was so wonderful that we could do this during this lockdown period where we could all come together virtually and dream. And that's what we're going to be doing today on with the secrets of Egypt and the Nile. And Brandon is going to be talking about a new ship. I believe it's brand new, right, Brandon?
Being refurbished, so it will be like brand new.
Love it. And it's so unique. So let's all just relax and kick back and enjoy. This is a super casual environment. Hi, Janet. I see you, by the way. And you are welcome to answer questions. As Brandon said in the beginning, if you can hold the questions until the end, we'll definitely have time for Q&A. But this is fun. This is relaxing. It's just for us to gather information and to really just enjoy what could be. It's someday that, if this is even something you dream of doing in 5 years, just enjoy the presentation and something totally new. We'll turn it over to you, Brandon. Brandon is the business development manager. He's based out of Arizona for AMA, and he is a man of many, many talents, but you are going to love the way that he presents. I've seen him do this before, and it is just mesmerizing and wonderful. So take it away, sir. I know I'm going to kick back and put my feet up and enjoy.
You should have set the bar a little lower so I can exceed expectations. Thank you very much. What a wonderful intro. And pardon me while I just let more people in. If you see me kind of peeking up, I've got a big giant screen over to my left, and that's where I'm seeing all the new people who keep popping in. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. It's great to have you here with us. We are going to talk about Egypt and cruising the Nile. The beauty about this is we have to wait to do this. We don't even start selling until September of next year, so we can start planning for the future. Now, this itinerary cannot be booked as just a 7-night cruise. There's just too much to do, too much to see, so we've put this beautiful 11-night package together for you, where we start off with 3 nights in Cairo, then we take a 7-night cruise, but before we send you home, we're going to spend 1 more night in Cairo. It makes it really easy for people coming and going to do it this way. Now, as I said, we've got a ways to go before this actually starts, September of 21, and we're going to have a shorter season for this particular itinerary, and it's because of the weather in this part of the world. So we start September through to December next year, then we'll run January through May, and then we'll shut down throughout the summer and open back up for September of 22. Again, weather. This all begins in the bustling city of Cairo. Cairo has 22 million people. Now, I'm sure a lot of you are seeing this picture right now going, oh my gosh, that looks beautiful. When I think of Cairo, I never imagined that it could possibly look like that. Well, it's actually the second capital of Egypt. Before that, it was Alexandria. And again, it's a bustling city. And actually, Cairo is an Arabic word for conqueror. Makes a lot of sense for the history of this place that we're going to be exploring today. And as I had mentioned, our AmaDahlia is being refurbished. In this part of the world, unfortunately, they won't let us just put a new build on the waters. They have ships there they would rather us use. So what we've done, we've stripped it down to the hull. This will be a completely brand new vessel. You will never know that it was refurbished when we're done with it. And actually, when we took over and we bought this vessel, it had 68 staterooms. We're taking it down to 34. And we're going to put all of the luxuries and amenities that you would find on one of our European vessels. So you're going to have a chef's table, your main dining room, a fitness center. You've got all kinds of unique things, a pool on the sun deck. These are things that AmaWaterways does uniquely in Europe, and we're going to keep that style unique on the Nile as well. I know I've got a layout of the staterooms and the ship layout. If you're interested in taking this trip, I got this off of our website. So you can go online and look at the different amenities that we're going to have and the different types and sizes of staterooms for when you're interested in booking with us. Now, when I talk about luxurious amenities, we are going to make this a state-of-the-art, beautiful vessel. Those two glass columns there, we're putting elevators that are going to go up to the sun deck. We were the very first company to do this in Europe, and nobody else has an elevator that goes to the sun deck. Well, in Egypt, we realized that people who river cruise sometimes have some mobility issues, and it just makes it easier to get up and down. Now, the pictures that I'm showing you, these are mock-ups. We don't have a completed vessel, but this is what the ship is going to look like. Here we have a picture of our atrium. Again, it's a mock-up. And now what's really neat about these mock-ups, one time when I was in Europe, I went to one of the shipyards or one of the design centers where they actually put together mock-ups of staterooms in different rooms. And you literally walk in and you feel like you're on board a ship because of how they put it together. So we're getting a really good idea of what the AmaDahlia is going to look like. Here we have our bar and lounge. Again, just like Europe, we will have our sip and sell each evening with the select wines and cocktails. Now, something neat about the wines in this part of the world, now they do have their own vineyards in Egypt. They don't have a lot of them. So the wines that we'll serve on board, we always want you to have a local cultural experience. A lot of the Egyptian wines, they have the grapes from Egypt, but they also bring in grapes from South Africa since they have such a big and beautiful wine country down there. So again, you'll get that cultural immersion on many different layers while you're on board this particular vessel. Now here we have a picture of what the dining room is going to look like. Now off to the right, that little glass area, that's going to be our chef's table. This is a unique dining experience. It's kind of a European style tasting. You don't look at a menu when you're at the chef's table. Little servings of different things just keep coming throughout the meal. It's really quite an incredible experience no matter where we're offering this. So with the cuisine on the AmaDahlia, we are bringing a lot of our food in from Europe. Now, the reason we're doing that, in this part of the world, they handle meats and certain other types of foods very differently. And we would rather just bypass any concerns that any of our guests might have and just bring it over from Europe. It's a lot easier, but some of the local fresh produce, things like that, will absolutely be able to serve our guests while they're on board. And if you have dietary restrictions, not a problem. Meals will be prepared to order, so you name it, gluten-free, dairy-free, low sodium, allergies, I've heard it all. We're going to be able to make all of the same accommodations on board the AmaDahlia, again, because meals are prepared to order. So just taking a look at the staterooms, so you get an idea, we can have 2 twin-size beds, or we can have one queen size bed. And just knowing how AmaWaterways operates, I'm looking at these twins that are pretty much smashed together. I know that we'll take one of those end tables and put it in between so that if you want a little space from the person you're sharing a room with, you can have, you know, like that much space at least while you sleep at night. And then if you look off to the right-hand side there, you'll see that there's a little sitting area on the lower part. That's going to be in our main staterooms. But then for our suites, we're going to have a much larger sitting area available on the Amadalia. Now, I'll tell you something really funny. If you were looking at the deck plan and you saw the names of the floors, they're different types of flowers that are native to Egypt. And we picked the Jasmine deck for our top deck because we have about 5 ladies in the office named Jasmine, and we just figured it was the right thing to do. I think Todd, the product manager, decided to do that because he didn't want to hear about it later, but it was a good idea. It was a really good idea. Now, with our suites, you will have a huge bathtub and a walk-in shower. With all of the other staterooms, unfortunately, you won't have a bathtub, but you'll still have that large walk-in shower available to you. And again, these pictures really give you a great idea of just how beautiful and luxurious the amenities are going to be on board the Amadalia. So I did mention that we do 3 nights in Cairo at the beginning and 1 night at the end. We're going to use the Four Seasons Hotel in Cairo. Now, Cairo is a bustling and busy city. We picked this. It's a little bit south of the downtown area, and I love the gentleman who puts this all together. He said this for him is a place of tranquility in a city of chaos. And it doesn't mean that it's a chaotic city. It's just a bustling and busy city. And when you get over here to the Four Seasons, you're in your own little paradise away from all of that busyness. Now, we do use superior rooms. So we're going to be on the top floors of the Four Seasons. And you're going to have partial Nile views. All of our guests will get these beautiful partial Nile views. Now, there's also a Bose music system inside of your stateroom, and there are 6 to 7 restaurants open, and it depends on the time of year. A couple of them may close, but there's 6 to 7 restaurants on the property. Now, the beauty of this, if you don't want to run into town to go grab a bite to eat in the evening, you can choose one of the restaurants. And for that reason, we're not offering an included dinner, and we don't typically do that with land just to begin with, because it's really hard to get everyone to come back together on land for dinner in the evening. Most people want to have their own experiences, but breakfast is always included. But again, you have a lot of really nice choices. And just so you know, this particular hotel is the #1 highest rated hotel on TripAdvisor in all of Cairo. So you're going to get that amazing next level experience. And so, you know, transfers are included. Whether you book your own air, you book our air, whatever you end up doing, your transfers are going to be included with us. Beautiful pool up on the roof. And again, another beautiful view of the Nile River from the pool itself. All right, so the day that you arrive, we don't have anything planned for you because acclimating is a big part of getting there. So your first day, you're gonna get in, you're gonna have a little free time to do your own thing, and then hopefully get a good night's rest. Most likely wake up at 2 o'clock in the morning and think it's 2 o'clock in the afternoon, but at least you have the opportunity, because the next day we've already got wonderful things in store for you. Now, there is a bigger museum that is being built right now. It was supposed to open last year. It was supposed to open this year. We're crossing our fingers it's open next year, because if it is, then we will add that to your tour. But now we have the Egyptian Museum with King Tut's treasures here for you to go. And we're going to take you on a tour of this. And after we visit that museum, in my opinion, this is one of the neatest things you're going to get to do while you're in Cairo. We're going to take you to the Khan el Khalili market. This has been around since the 10th century. Now, the only experience I've had similar to this was in Israel when I was in Jerusalem, and you go to the old market. This is how people have shopped for thousands of years. You have a lot of local arts and crafts here, but something even cooler you get to do is you're going to visit the very first coffee shop that is ever known to man. It was opened around 1760, and they now have what is the highest rated or considered to be the best restaurant in Cairo. So after we take you exploring this beautiful shopping center, you get to have this unique and amazing lunch at the very first coffee shop to ever open, long before Starbucks was ever a thought in anybody's mind. Obviously, we cannot go to this part of the world without visiting the Pyramids of Giza. Now, these are built out of limestone and granite, and up until the 14th century, they were the largest, tallest structures in the world. And they say that the largest one there has about 2.5 million stones that were used to build this. Now, something about the Pyramids of Giza, there are tombs. And oddly enough, we're in a part of the world where they don't have set hours where you can just go and explore the tombs. You know that Monday through Friday, it's open from this time to this time. Either it's open or it's not. But if it is open, it's not part of our tour, but we do make sure you have time to do this. You can go inside and explore those tombs. Now, these tombs were built by teeny tiny little people. So getting into these tombs, you're hunched down, you're squished up, and you have to back out to get out of them. But if you want to do it, some people love to do it, and that's something that's available to you. Something else that's available, we don't promote it, we don't set it up, but a lot of people going to this part of the world might be interested. There are people out there with camels promoting camel rides and pictures with their camels. If that's something that you would like to do while you're there, again, you are more than welcome. We make sure that after we tour and give you an amazing tour of these temples, that you have some free time to do some things that are special and unique for you as well. We're going to also go and visit the Great Sphinx. So you have the head of a pharaoh and the body of a lion. This was built 2500 BC, very long time ago. And the reason it's so well preserved is this was all carved out of one stone. And it only took them about 2 to 3 years to put this together. After we explore the pyramids and the Sphinx, we're going to go to the Manna House. Now, this is a really neat place. It was built in the 1860s for Europeans who would come down to Egypt to hunt. And all of the structure is in its original form. And again, since this was designed for Europeans, you have incredible luxuries here, and you get to have a beautiful lunch at the Manna House as part of your experience with us. All right, it is time to board the AmaWaterways. We're going to take a trip down to Luxor. This is a city of over 500,000 people, and it's considered to be the world's greatest open-air museum. And you're going to take a little bit of a tour of Luxor, but then you're going to board the ship, have lunch, and after that, we're going to take you to a temple that was built by Ramses II, the Luxor Temple. Now, the way that it works when you start doing tours, once we get you on board the AmaWaterways, we have 3 Egyptologists. The AmaWaterways has about, let's see, we've got 34 staterooms, 68 people. So you've got about 20 to 25 people per group, roughly. So you'll have a nice small group. You'll get to take some beautiful tours. And again, we're gonna take you to visit the Luxor Temple. So it's interesting for me because I talk about Europe way more than I talk about Egypt, way, way more. And when I talk about Europe and I start talking about the itineraries, I find myself talking about this cathedral that you'll visit, and that cathedral you'll visit, and this cathedral, and that cathedral. When you're in Egypt, you're going to visit this temple, and that temple, and this temple, and that temple. There's a lot of temples that you're going to see, but they all have really great history and stories that follow them that make them extra special. And I love a beautiful cathedral, but I think for me personally, I'm a very adventurous person. All of these little temples have some beautiful and unique stories that are a little more appealing. And again, it's a more exotic destination. Now, let's see if I can say this right. The Temple of Queen Hatshepsut, but I butchered it. It's too bad. It's late. Too late. I butchered it. I've tried. I've repeated it numerous times. Now, she was actually considered to be one of the strongest queens of Egypt. And I haven't done a lot of research or history on this, but from the notes I've read, that she was so strong that a lot of the statues they have built dedicated to her have the physique of a man, or she has a beard, because they saw her as being a very physically strong person as well. So something really neat that we're going to do that nobody else does, and the only reason they don't do it is because it's expensive, but we're including it, so that's no cost to you. It's part of your trip. We're going to take you to the Tomb of Nefertari. Now, the Tomb of Nefertari, I like the story of this. So Nefertari was the first queen of King Ramses II. And I think that she was his favorite as well. She was the most beautiful. This was a known fact to everybody. She was also very well educated. She could read, she could write, and she lived a very long and healthy life. She lived a full 45 years, which back then that was like living to be 100 these days. But he built this tomb for her, and you'll find poems and love stories that he wanted in this tomb for her. It's a very beautiful place along the way. And just a little bit of history, he was 15 and she was 13 when they married.
Wow.
We are also going to visit the Temple of Horus. Now, this was built around 200 BC. It's very well preserved because it was only unearthed back in 1860. So again, another one of those beautiful temples that you're going to visit along the way. Now, I love this. I don't have any story behind it. It's just another beautiful picture of the Nile. I've been very well traveled, and when they talked about cruising the Nile, I couldn't really wrap my head around what the draw was until I saw all of these beautiful things we're going to do and the amazing places that you're going to visit along the way. Just a little something interesting about the Nile. So in Egypt, temples are on the east of the Nile and tombs are on the west of the Nile. And that's because the sun rises on the east, it represents life, and the sun sets in the west, which represents death. So again, temples on the east and the tombs are going to be on the west. So we're going to take one of these really neat Felucca boat rides, and you're going to go visit Anubian Village. So this looks really, really incredible. So the Nubians have been around for over 300,000 years. Similar to our Native Americans, they are the natives of this part of the world. Nothing predates them in this part of the world. So, and the paintings on the walls, those are actually stories from their families. So they mean something. Now we do some really unique things while you're here. Everybody who cruises the Nile or tours Egypt, they stop here. It's part of the trip. However, it's just a stop. You don't do much more than just get to see it. You get a tour, you get told about the village, and then you move along. Well, with us, we're going to give you that next level experience. Not only do we take you there and take you on a beautiful city tour, but we also are going to take you to lunch in this Nubian village. So you get to dine with the locals, that cultural immersion. And then when you're done, you can go out and go shopping and support the locals and go to the local spice shops. I'll tell you that this is absolutely amazing to go to the Middle East and go to the spice shops and bring a little something home is something quite special. Now, we do offer a optional extension to Abu Simbel. Now, you do need to pay for this, and the Abu Simbel, for 21, it's $325 per person, and for 22, it is $345 per person, and it's because we have to fly you there. But this is a must-see, and something that we have done that, as far as I know, is unique. If you pre-book it with our reservations department, it's guaranteed. And I know for a fact that you can't typically pre-book this as a guarantee. But with us, we are telling you that if you book this with us, you absolutely get to go. Now, what's really neat about this, Abu Simbel, built by King Ramses, again for Nefertari, his greatest love. Now, this used to be 600 feet lower down
Wow.
closer to the water. But there was a dam built and the water level started to change. And this is such a special and amazing place that they literally took it apart piece by piece and rebuilt it 600 feet above the water level. Now, again, this is a very, very special place. And it's funny, King Ramses thought very, very highly of himself. In the middle, there's a statue, inside of it, there's a statue of him and then gods on each side of him. Well, on February 22nd and October 22nd, the light shines straight through the tunnel onto King Ramses. So if you're lucky, maybe you'll be there when that happens. But the gentleman who puts our programs together for Egypt and Africa, he's been there many times. He said, this is one of those places when you get there, you're like, oh my gosh, I didn't know that my life was missing this very amazing destination. So if you're going to go, please do yourself a favor and book it, because I have a feeling you'll wish you had later if you didn't. Oh, there's one of the tunnels that the light can shine all the way through 2 times a year. I don't see the statue of King Ramses though. All right, here we have Ambo of Aswan. So this is a temple dedicated to the crocodile and falcon god. Now, what's really neat about this is you're walking around and exploring, you're actually going to see, it may sound a little strange, but a lot of mummified crocodiles. And if you think about it, 2,500 years ago, the Nile was full of crocodiles. Not so much the case now. And the only experience I have as a reference is I have cruised on the Mekong a couple of times. And once upon a time, they had tons of crocodiles there. Now you will see people swimming and playing in there because they're nowhere to be found. So the Nile is the same thing, where once upon a time they were there, but not so much these days. Then we're going to go to Karnak. This is the largest of all the temples that you're going to see. It actually covers over 250 acres. This was built 2,000 years ago. Now this one looks really neat. This one, the Temple of Hawthor. This is going to be the best preserved temple that you'll see along the Nile. Now, if you see that big square area off to the left with the little rope going through it, once upon a time, that used to be a sacred pool. Nobody was allowed to swim in it because it was considered to be sacred. But now it's full of rocks and dirt, just again to keep everything well preserved. But another one of the beautiful and special places you get to explore along the way while you're with us. Now, again, I talked about all the temples you're going to see. By the time you're done, you might be templed out. Hopefully not. Hopefully not. But we're going to do something special and unique. Again, nobody else does this. Now, in the river cruise industry, any excursion that could possibly be costly to the cruise line is usually kind of cut out for overall profit. With us, overall experience is much more important. So what we've done is we have set up a visit to the presidential palace. Now, dignitaries from around the world stay here when they come to Cairo. And when I say nobody else goes here, I mean nobody else takes you here. So you get to have a tour of part of the palace because there are residents there. But after that, you get to have a beautiful lunch in the presidential palace in Cairo.
Nice.
And then we go to Old Cairo. This is your last day while you're with us. You're going to visit Old Cairo. This is a UNESCO World Heritage Site. It's been around since the 10th century. And you can't see it, but off to the left, you can see the Great Pyramids from this part of Cairo. Now we have some pretty neat extensions set up. We do have 2 different pre-options available. The first one, we offer a pre-visit to Jordan. Now, Amman is one of the oldest cities in the world, dates back, well, they actually have statues in the city that date back 7,000 years. So we've all studied history, we've all traveled and seen a lot of really cool places, but trying to wrap your head around what was happening 7,000 years ago, it's almost impossible to do. But you get to explore a place that has that kind of amazing history to it. Now, for here, visas are obtained when we all get there. Since we're coming in as a group, we just take care of it right there at the airport. You don't have to worry about pre-getting your visas. And while we are there, we are staying at a 5-star hotel, the St. Regis Amman. Beautiful and luxurious accommodations. So what I love about AmaWaterways and the hotels we use, we go to some exotic places and everybody loves to go out and explore these cultures. But when we lay our heads down at night, we want the comforts of home. So we make sure that when you're traveling with us, that you have those luxuries and comforts, maybe even more comfortable than home, who knows? And we are also going to visit Petra. So we do 4 nights in Jordan, 2 nights in Amman, 2 nights Petra. But one of the stops along the way is Jerash. This, as you can look, I bet you can guess the culture that used to live here. Romans.
Yep.
Got a Colosseum. You've got the columns. This dates back to about the 2nd century. Actually, the Romans did take all of this over. This was their territory. But at some point, Christians and Muslims drove them out of Jordan. So I think this is one of the main reasons people go to Jordan, is to see Petra. This is so impressive. They actually have aqueducts that they ran from the tops of the mountain to bring the water down to them. This is all carved into the stone, the side of the mountain. This was actually just discovered back in the 1800s, and they're still uncovering different parts of it. Now, you can walk and hike down into there. If you don't feel like doing it, they have donkeys that pull carts down, so you can have a ride with the donkey and a cart to get down there. Now, we use the Old Village Resort in Jordan. Typically, we use all 5-star resorts in exotic destinations. This is a 4-star resort, but we chose it for a very special reason. One, the accommodations are beautiful. They're comfortable, and this part of the world gets really hot, and they've used the stone from around them to construct this, and that helps create a cooler and more comfortable room. But this is owned by the local villagers. So by bringing tourism and supporting this hotel, we're also supporting the local villagers, and that means a lot to AmaWaterways. And I have been told by the gentleman who stayed here that he wouldn't stay anywhere else if you were coming to this part of the world. I did mention we have 2 pre-options available. You can either do your 4 nights in Jordan, or you can take 3 nights in Dubai. Dubai is a bucket list for a lot of people. It's a very big, beautiful, luxurious city. We stay for 3 nights at the JW Marriott. Stunning accommodations, which you would expect nothing less if you're going to Dubai. Here's a view from one of the rooms that we use at that hotel. So we do something really neat. We take you on a city tour of Dubai, and then we take you out on a tour of the sand dunes. And your tour finishes off with dining out in the sand dunes. Now, I've been told if it's a little too warm that we will have another accommodation and dining venue for you, but most people love this and they want to go out and dine in the sand dunes.
Oh, wow.
Then we're going to go to the Grand Mosque. So this, I have been told by many people, again, I haven't been here yet, that this is the most beautiful mosque you will ever set eyes on. And it's not an old mosque. It was built in the 1980s.
Wow.
So we take our guests on weekdays. We don't go on Fridays, Saturdays, because they can hold over 4,000 people at a time. And if you go on a Friday, there will be 4,000 people there to worship. So we make sure to take you when you can see it and explore and have a beautiful experience. After this is all done, you're finished with your cruise, we are offering a post-extension to Jerusalem. Now, a lot of people who go to Israel, especially for religious reasons, will go for a couple of weeks. But this is a really nice way to dip your toes in the water of Israel and experience. For me, I will tell you, it is one of my favorite places I have ever been in my life. My wife is Israeli, and I keep trying to talk her into retiring there one day because I can surf, and I just want beautiful water and surf and a cool place to live. It's a really beautiful and amazing country, and Jerusalem is very special. We're looking at the Wailing Wall right here. Off to the side, you can't see it. If you do this trip, The Tower of David has an illumination tour. It's a Bible story in the evenings. And I'll tell you, it's one of the most beautiful and amazing things you will ever see. It's really special. Now, obviously, we cannot, well, let me talk about where you're staying first. We're going to use the Waldorf Astoria. Again, beautiful accommodations, luxurious and comfortable so that you can rest well at night. Now, as part of your trip to Jerusalem, we're going to take you down to Masada. Now, Masada is right by the Dead Sea. If you look to the left in the background there, that is the Dead Sea, that little bit of blue. That's the Dead Sea. Now, Masada has a really interesting history. So, and I apologize, I'm not great with history, but there was a Jewish king that this was his resort. It was his getaway, and it was on top of a hill. Well, the Romans were taking over Israel, and they wanted to take over this palace and this small kingdom on top of the hill. And when they got there, the Jews refused to let them up. And it took them, it's controversial, what I've read, it's anywhere between 3 to 7 months for them to build a bridge. Now, if you look to the right of Mount Masada, you see the dirt going at an angle like this. They literally put all of that there. The Romans spent months building something so they could take their big wooden pieces and push it up the hill to avoid getting shot by bow and arrows. It had a very tragic ending. Everybody inside, almost everybody, committed suicide. They did not want to be taken captive. But it's a beautiful place. I've been there before. The history is incredible. And you take a cable car up, unless you feel really strong and active and you want to hike it, go for it. But you got to think, if you're at the lowest point on Earth that's not underwater, that it's a good 100 to 105 degrees pretty much always. I live in Arizona, so I'm used to it. Now, we're not going to get you that close to the Dead Sea without giving you an opportunity to do exactly what you think you would do if you went to the Dead Sea. You will get in the water and you will float. This is such a, it's weird because as soon as you get in the water, it's like having a soft water filter times 1,000. But on top of that, if you just lift one leg up a little bit, your whole body goes horizontal immediately. And you have to kind of fight to put your feet back down because you just want to float in it. But again, nobody else does this with tours to Jerusalem, for the river cruise industry at least, where they take their guests to the Dead Sea to let them explore. Now, Heather, you have some groups that you do together with us.
Yeah, so this looked so amazing to me, and I knew some guests and clients would just absolutely love this. So I did put a group together for October 7th of not this year, not next year, but for 2022. So definitely a great wish list or bucket list, you know, however you want to call it, amazing vacation. So yeah, if anyone's interested, go ahead and please contact us.
Fantastic. And whenever Heather takes out group space with us, there are always special discounts and promotions affiliated. And on top of that, since you've taken the time to join us this evening, I'm allowed to offer a promotion for the next 2 weeks. It's a 100 per person discount. And that means that you just have to have something in the books with us in the next 2 weeks. And that gives you 3 weeks to actually make your deposit with us on whatever itinerary you happen to choose.